This is identifying time restriction, location restriction, and the amount of content that you can have. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Here we're talking language learning, slow productivity tips for people who are multi-passionate, multi-potentialite, have a lot of hobby, but they are busy and get bored very easily, like me. I'm really happy to have you back today, and we will talk about a topic that is very important when you are someone that is very busy and you still want to crush your goal and learn new languages. I've created like a whole playlist on my best tips with language learning, and I'm really gonna continue posting about that because I just love language learning and I've been doing it for so long, and I've been trying with different languages that I really love to talk about it, and I have so many things to talk about it. So you'll find the link down below. I've been also doing quite some video about Korean language learning, so if you're specifically learning Korean, I have tips that are really specific to this language. So on today's topic, I will talk about how to learn a language on the go. What do I mean by on the go? It's usually the time that you have that you're not sitting in front of a desk, or you don't have everything on hands, and maybe you have spare time. That can be 10 minutes, but they can also be like an hour. And I think when you're very busy, you have to find those moments of free time, and in those moments, this is where you can really use the list or the tips that I'm gonna give you today and to add some language learning to your day. So the first thing is to identify which medium you're gonna use. So when I'm talking language learning medium or content, it can be a book, like physical copy. It can be with an e-reader. I will also make a video about how I am using my e-reader, not only to read books, but to read other content, because I get bored very easily. So if I have only one type of information or content, I will just get bored. But yeah, so you can choose this. Like everybody else, you have a phone, so your phone is really one really good medium or content. But you can also use an iPad or something else. So it doesn't have to be something specific, but you need to know what is something that you can carry with you most of those time. There are the time that you have. The second things to do when you are evaluating and doing this whole process is to figure it out. What are the time that you are usually available? You have the time where you're busy, but also what are the in-between time, the moment where you could potentially use the list that we're gonna create together. What does that mean? So I will take my example. I go to work at the office twice a week, and it takes me roughly an hour to get there. I will even go further. It's like the first 20 minutes of the trip, it's quite crowded, or where the way I get to at the first transfer, I don't really want to maybe pull out my phone. So I have 1 hour, but I will divide it like, okay, every week I have 1 hour in the morning, 1 hour in the evening. For 20 minutes, I maybe just want to listen to something. I maybe not want to read something. Then I have another 20 minutes between the transfer, but you can continue listening. So then I have more space. I'm in a train, it's a bit quieter. And that's the moment that I can use a reading content, or I can even write. I identify through the week times where I am able to do another task, whether that can be when I'm commuting, when I'm waiting for a task, or if I go to the hair salon, for example. I go to a really nice hairdresser, but she's usually very late, even if you arrive on time for your booking. So I also, if I go once every 2 or 3 weeks, I know that there is this time as well that I will wait maybe half an hour. So, and it's a busy place and crowded, so maybe I don't want to listen to something, instead I want to do something else. So I will identify first all of those moments, but also create unexpected moment Why I am talking about that and not jumping straight away on the strategy is this is part of the strategy. This is identifying time restriction, location restriction, and the amount of content that you can have. So sometimes it can be that you want to use your phone, but you would not have access to Wi-Fi. Or sometimes it can be that, okay, you want to listen to something, but you don't have your headset at that time or something else, or you weren't able to. So it's really important to identify the list of medium that you have, whether that be your phone, it can be a book like small enough to fit in your day-to-day bag, it can be an iPad, e-reader, whatever it is. This is the medium. Then you define the different content that you have. So it's a newsletter, so I can have it accessible on my phone, on my iPad, and if I download them in advance, maybe on my e-reader, right? So I have those free mediums, I have this specific content. It's reading, so what is the type? Is reading content, so I have to read through it, and it takes me, let's say, 20 minutes. I don't have to finish it, but let's say if I have 20 minutes, I know I can go through one issue of a newsletter. I will elaborate a list of time, like 10 minutes. I can do Enki. I can do like a few vocab words. I have 20 minutes. I can read a newsletter, or I can listen to this specific podcast. Be as specific as much as you can. Be specific, because that will reduce friction. That is very important in language learning, to reduce friction, because often you will have a burst of motivation and you just don't know what to do. So really make this list thoroughly. You have 1 hour, you're on the train for an hour, you can read, write. Maybe you want to do a chapter of specific textbooks. I'm not super fan of textbooks, but some people really like it. I think it is great if that works for you, right? Everything is good if it works for you, as long as it's like a good content, grammatically good. Or you have time, you want to watch a TV show, but then you add subtitles, and then okay, I can watch and listen. Or this time I can't, and I have usually half an hour. There is this podcast that is 20 minutes or 30 minutes, so I know I will be able to go through the whole podcast. And then this is the full strategy. First, pick the mediums. I would recommend you to pick multiple medium, because you want to have as much as option as possible. The second one is that for each medium, you pick which are the type of content that you can use and go through. Ideally, you would put also like the time that it takes you usually to go through. For example, it can be that you have a book, like a grammar book, and that grammar book is small enough to fit in your work bag, and you go to work every other day, and it takes you half an hour to go to work, and maybe like it takes you like in half an hour you can do 2 pages. But then if you're very consistent, you might not have time any other days or time of the week, but you have these hours where you're sitting and you're not able to do something else. You can scroll internet, you can scroll social media, you can respond to your friend, but it's knowing that you have this list ready. You can just pull out the list and check, what do you feel like today? I'm sitting, I can have access to a visual element, and I'm gonna do that. I can recommend, in terms of the tool that you want to use, that you can like be very basic and go for like writing everything on a notepad, write it on an iPad, or you can put it on a Google Doc or something. You can also use Notion. I think it's really great because you can filter. You can filter by time and type of medias and things like that if you want to really get fancy. Usually, I would say pick 4 type of content. So a podcast or an audio, a video, so that can be like a show that you want to watch. You will then put a quick things like vocab repetition, like Enki, and the last one you will put something that is a little bit more intense, whether that is reading a book or part of a book, or studying grammar, because I think you need to have a balance of like small task, large task, and the in between, which are usually say is consuming content like audio or videos. So yeah, I hope that was helpful for you, and you will create your list and every time you have time that is unused, you can just put it out and be ready. As I said, really the goal is to continue learning, even if it's 10 minutes. It's very important to do this. Obviously, you're not going to improve as much as you want if you just do 10 minutes. I am first guilty of that. I would study for just a little bit or not study. But if you love language learning, which I think if you're here, you'll probably love it, it's not about specifically crushing everything and getting straight A's. You actually love it and you want to continue. So yeah, it is the process of learning. So I hope that was helpful, and I'll see you in the next video. Ciao.